Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Whether we talk about the state of an economy or how to run an economy, how to run a military campaign, wage war, how to implement a welfare scheme, right? How to get vaccines all across the country for a quick rollout so more and more people can get it in their arms as soon as possible. All of that depends on one very vital thing, which is the most vital in all these operations, but probably also seen as the most boring. I will not tell you exactly what it is right now, although I'm sure you're smart enough to have guessed it, but it begins with the letter L. L as in for London, right? Now, think about this. You don't have to be my vintage. If you are somebody in your 40s, right? Maybe even late 30s, because if you are younger than that, then you've taken this for granted. And what is it that you take for granted? You take for granted the fact that, say, in Delhi, and for every part of the country, there will be some equivalent. But since I live in Delhi, I talk about Delhi. In Delhi, for example, now, green coconuts, right? That is coconuts for tender coconut water, right? Green coconuts now sell across the year. Across the year, there are also people by the roadside with big heaps of green coconuts selling them. Till about 15-20 years back, did we see them? They were like something exotic. You went to some shops in Delhi to get those, particularly in some seasons. You might have found more of them. They also cost more. See, for example, a simple thing like watermelons, right? Watermelons in winter. Winter is not the season in the north for watermelons, it's too cold. But in the south, in Goa, in parts of Maharashtra, plenty of watermelon, tarboos is grown, and very good quality tarboos is grown. Now tarboos or watermelon has become a perennial product that is available on our fruit shops. I'm talking about North India and Delhi in this case, and I'm sure there are similar examples for other parts of the country. Apples. Now, if I travel across the country, I find apple season, first of all, has become much longer than before, right? Orange season has become much longer than before. And also to the deepest parts of India, in the south, in the east, way down through the peninsula, in rural areas, in really ordinary villages, not rich villages, not in some kind of a grain belt, you will still find vegetable and fruit shops selling fresh apples. Those look about as fresh as you would find anywhere. Ditto for oranges in parts of the country far away from the orange growing heartland of the country, which is Nagpur, Maharashtra, etc., etc. Now, how is that happening? Now, how is it that you can now order fish, meat online, and in some cases, within the same day, fresh meat and fish arrives at your doorstep? A lot of it is coming from, say, coastal states like Kerala or someplace else. I'm not mentioning any brand names, but this is now taken for granted. So, okay, now that I've done all my fruit and vegetable and grocery and meat shopping, meat and fish shopping, you might ask me, why am I telling you all this? And why did I say that if you are younger than maybe 40, then you may not understand what has made a difference? So, I will tell you what the difference is. Because now all this is happening because over the past 20 years or so, India has built massively highways. India has built a big air freight industry. So your fish, etc., fresh fish can fly within hours from coastal areas. India has also improved its railways. So transport has improved. Also, octroi reforms have taken place. Octroi has mostly been abolished. Interstate movement of trucks is much easier. Now also in terms of toll plazas, you can use FASTag. So that's why apples produced in Kinnaur in Himachal Pradesh or some part of Kashmir can now reach within maybe 24 hours any part of the country. That is the big change that's come about in India. All this happens, for all of this to happen. Similarly, that same thing beginning with L is required. Now, vaccines. The question was that, okay, India can produce this many vaccines, but how will you get them to all parts of the country so quickly? What has happened once we got our focus on the vaccination process? It's been quite brilliant. We have delivered a lot of doses into people's arms, but before that, they've had to reach safe in a refrigerated environment to all these places. And you've seen these sidelights and pictures of people carrying it on elephant back or on their own backs or in boats here and there. All that is part of the supply chain, right? The supply chain has to work till the last end. How that works is that our heart pumps blood into our body, and heart must pump the blood efficiently enough for it to reach our brain, for our brain to think and function, and for us to stay alive. But also all parts of the body, including the most distant parts, that is our toes, right? Or the soles of our feet. For that, two things are needed. One, the heart should be effective and function well. And second, that our arteries and veins, our blood vessels and capillaries should be in good shape. There should not be blockages there or plaques there, right? That's why you would find that people who have long-lasting diabetes and don't take care of it, or uncontrolled sugar, they tend to start having these circulatory problems in the most distant parts of their body. Now, behind all that, the L that stands is logistics, right? Logistics. A lot of people think it's boring. In an army, for example, you will know who's the big armor commander, tank commander, who's the big infantry commander, right? You will know in an air force, the fighter pilots. But you don't know people who run the logistics, because logistics is what keeps everything going in life. You cannot even run a welfare scheme like Manrega, free food distribution, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. It cannot happen unless your logistics are right, and logistics have to be right at the last moment. So whether it is Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana and distribution of free grain under that, or it is Zomato supplying your order or Swiggy supplying your order, the same thing. The supply chain logistics have to work till the very end. That's why all of us like to quote that line, a famous line that I think it's quoted all the time in motivational talks, particularly in the corporate motivational talks, that amateurs think strategy, generals talk logistics. It's a wonderfully wise line, but I will also tell you where that line comes from. This line actually was spoken by a top general. That was General Richard D. Hillard Barrow, who was a 4-star general in United States Marine Corps, passed away in 2008. And he said this in an interview to San Diego Union in 1979. His exact line was, "Amateurs think strategy, professionals talk logistics, and sustainability in warfare." So what is sustainability in warfare? Is sustainability also in economy, in trade, etc. India has been very weak on logistics. That's why in the past you've seen these rows of trucks piled up at entry points to our cities. Every city, every state charges their octroi. Our highways have been bad. Our railway availability has been very poor. So one important initiative that this government, the Modi government, deserves credit for it, they've taken is that they're really working on improving logistics. And that's how a lot of money has gone into highways, railways, etc. But at the same time, India is a country of states. India is not a one unitary system. Every state contributes to how efficient the country is, even on logistics. The Ministry of Commerce in 2018 started a ranking of states based on many parameters, right? This is called the LEADS rankings, LEADS. You know, Modi government likes acronyms, so they found an easy one there. LEADS stands for Logistics Ease Across Different States. So every year, states are ranked. This also promotes competition among the states. And what's happened is that over the 3 years that this ranking has been done, 18, 19 and now 21, 20 was missed for obvious reasons because that was a pandemic lockdown year. Each year, the methodology of these rankings has improved. So the first version in 2018 only looked at export and import. That was a bit limited. Next year in 2019, it looked at export and import, but also internal trade and also movement of goods internally within the state and across states, in and out of every state. The third one now, that is an improvement in methodology. It looks at export-import, it looks at internal movement of goods and services, but it also, in terms of the questionnaire, it's not just subjective. The first two were based on responses from people involved in the process. The latest one, now besides it talking to the people who are involved in the process and getting their responses, that is subjective, also has a bunch of objective criteria. These are database criteria. So now it's based on 21 distinct criteria. There is an assessment framework which includes 7 objective parameters, which are fact-based, data-based objective parameters. Now, if you look at all that, see the rankings this year. I am showing you the whole chart from the Commerce Ministry's report. I am also sharing the entire 193-page report with you. But see the rankings. Number 1, Gujarat. Gujarat's been number 1 for some time. Number 1, Gujarat. Number 2, Haryana. Number 3, Punjab. Number 4, Tamil Nadu. Number 5, Maharashtra. At number 6, there is a big surprise. Number 6 is Uttar Pradesh. Now, you would not think of Uttar Pradesh as a state that is doing so well with logistics, which means it's doing better on logistics than, say, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. These are much more industrialized, modern states. And your surprise is not misplaced because UP has improved this year by 7 levels. UP was 13, it's come to 6. Now we'll say, ठीक है, BJP की सरकार है, कर दिया उसको अपनी सरकार है, right? When you distribute sweets, you give them to your own. But it's not just that, because there are many criteria here. And if you see the rankings and how the rankings have moved, and I will get into that, you will see that many non-BJP states have also improved and BJP states have also declined. So to that extent, I would say these rankings don't look like they are loaded. Now, interesting thing is, once again, when someone like me who's curious gets into something like this, why else would I read about logistics? I'm doing it because you expect me to read about these boring things and try and make them interesting for you and declutter them, right? So when I read these things with a great sense of curiosity and interest. So when I was reading this, I found that while they talk about the states, they've also divided the country into clusters. And that's a very important division. See the map. All these charts and all these graphics and visuals are from the report, right? Look at this map. This divides India into 7 neat clusters. They are color coded on the screen. You can see it. And you can see how these are ranked overall on all parameters on logistics, and there will be no surprise there. So number 1 is Western Coastal Cluster. Now, Western Coastal Cluster is also our most developed, richest, that is Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Goa, Kerala, right? That is number 1 when it comes to clusters, right? One region in the country, one geo-economic region, let me say. Number 2 is North Landlocked Structure. What is the North Landlocked Structure? That will be Punjab, Haryana, UP, etc., etc. Then after that, number 3 is the Southwestern Coastal Structure. Southwestern Coastal Structure, again, you go deep south. That also is industrialized, most of it. So that is doing better. That's number 3. Then Eastern Coastal Cluster. And when you come to the Eastern Coast, then you have Tamil Nadu, you have Andhra, Odisha, right? And then some bit of West Bengal. So that is then at number 4. So at number 5 is East Central Landlocked Cluster. Once again, you will see what it will be. It will be Jharkhand and states around it, etc. Parts of Bihar, parts of maybe Odisha. I haven't seen it that carefully, that closely. But you can imagine which geographical or which geo-economic landmass this is. And that you can see is doing much worse than, say, the Northern Landlocked Cluster. That's why the Eastern Landlocked Cluster is the supplier of cheap labor to the Northern Landlocked Cluster. That's where so much farm labor comes in by the train, by the truck into Punjab and Haryana to work there, and in Western UP also. At number 6 is the Central Landlocked Cluster. That I presume is Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, some areas like that. Again, doing badly. And when we go at states rankings, you will know how this sort of ties in with the facts or the data that we see there. Then you have the hilly Northeastern Cluster. Now, when you look at these clusters and you can look at their ranking, then you also know which part of the country is doing well economically, which one is not doing so well economically. Because as I said earlier, ultimately everything depends on that one thing starting with the letter L, right? Now look at the individual ranking of states. Gujarat was number one. It is still number one. Its overall rank, however, has improved. It was 3.62. It's now 3.66. All these improvements or declines will be marginal. But remember, there's one health warning that there is an essential difference between the first two rankings and now, because the criteria have now been expanded. Yet, we make a comparison. So Gujarat was number one, still number one. It's gone up from 3.62 overall score to 3.66. Haryana was number 6. It's gone to number 2, right? So that's an improvement of 4 places. Haryana has gone from 6 to 2, and its score has gone from 3.37 to 3.52. And that's no surprise, because if you drive along any highway in Haryana, easiest one is drive towards Chandigarh or towards Amritsar from Delhi. As you drive on the part of the highway which cuts through Haryana, you will find on both sides these huge warehouses, logistics warehouses. These are very scientifically done, very modern. These are not grain warehouses. And why have these been set up? Who are these serving? Because Haryana is next to the big city like Delhi. Big city like Delhi with 2 crore plus population with a lot of needs. Now Delhi may order in a day, I don't know, maybe 3,000 refrigerators or 5,000 refrigerators, 4,000 washing machines, 3,000 air conditioners. Where are they kept? They cannot all come from their factories when you order them from Amazon or wherever you order them, or when your dealer buys them for you. They have to sit somewhere near Delhi. Space in Delhi is too expensive. So they sit in these warehouses. And for that, the state has to have good highways, the good system, good taxation system. So Haryana, being a progressive state, at one point of time said that any farmer can convert their land into warehousing. Free change of land use, freely available change of land use, no restrictions. And that has led to a lot of prosperity in the state. And that reflects in Haryana's number 2 ranking also. Besides other things, of course, it's a plains state. It's a state which in any case is prosperous, which is urbanizing. So that all of that helps. But in contrast, you can see Punjab, which is not doing too badly, which is number 3. But in Punjab, instead of these logistics warehouses, what you will find along the same highway as you go towards Amritsar will be banquet halls. So which are about local consumption, local bale, not so much about generating wealth. So that is where you see state from state difference can be made. So Punjab is at number 3. It has gone down 1 slot from 2 to 3. But importantly, in all 3 of these rankings so far, Punjab has been in the top 3. So Punjab is not doing so too badly. Tamil Nadu has gone up 1 rank, 5 to 4, reasonable. Maharashtra has gone down 1 rank, that is 4 to 5. So basically, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra have exchanged places. UP has gone from 13 to 6. It has jumped 7 times. And I will let you know in a couple of minutes where the survey says UP has made its improvements. Odisha has improved. Odisha has improved from 10 to 7 by 3 places. Karnataka, 7 to 8, gone down 1 place. Andhra, I am surprised, has gone down 6 places. And I'd like to explore that more closely at some point, maybe if I'm traveling in Andhra or I meet people who are running the government in Andhra, what exactly happened there. I thought Andhra has fantastic infrastructure and fantastic logistics, but Andhra has slipped from 3 to 9. That's a fall of 6 places, just as UP is a rise of 7 places. Telangana, again, I'm surprised because that's a state built around Hyderabad. That has fallen from 8 to 10. Maybe they've done something with their taxation, etc. But those things need exploration. Chhattisgarh has improved 14 to 11. That is improved by 3 positions. Jharkhand, big improvement for a poor backward state, for a state which was part of Bihar. And you know, I will tell you also where Bihar is. But Jharkhand was 17 in the second survey, in the second rankings, in the third rankings now from 17 it's gone to 12. So it's an improvement of 5 for a state as poor and as backward and as poorly connected and as distant as Jharkhand. Uttarakhand, again, remarkable improvement from 19 to 13. And once again, I told you this seems secular in terms of politics because Jharkhand is not a BJP state. Uttarakhand is a BJP state. Then Kerala has declined from 11 to 14. We have to see why. I suspect it'll have something to do with transport taxes and things. West Bengal is there about 16 to 15, so it's improved one position. Rajasthan has slipped. Rajasthan has slipped substantively, and again I am surprised because it's otherwise a well-connected state. It has slipped from 12 to 16. Madhya Pradesh is the worst in terms of its ranking decline. It has slipped from 9 to 17 by 8 slots. 8 slots. One large state has split. And that is why I was saying that, this might reflect in the low ranking of the central landlocked corridor. That Madhya Pradesh has done very poorly, and Madhya Pradesh government has to reflect on it and maybe answer some questions. Bihar, Sawan, Haryana, Bhadon, Sukhe, as we say in Hindi, which means I don't know how to translate this into English, where nothing changes in a way. So Bihar was number 20, it's number 19, shabash, improvement of one position, right? But look at the way Jharkhand has broken away from Bihar. The other states after 20, I'm not counting because many of these are in other categories. They are states in the Himalayan mountainous states or category of northeastern states or union territories. So let's leave those aside for a moment. Now, the report also mentions what might have brought about these changes in India's logistics situation. We know the Prime Minister talks about Gati Shakti. And you can be skeptical about everything, but you can't dismiss it out of hand because this is data, and data is gold because it's only when you data that you can assess it. And today the data is very new, so I'm not able to assess it. And at some point, reporters will go on the ground and check out this data. But right now, going by just this data, I look at the claim in this survey from Commerce Ministry that over the past 7 years, highway construction has gone up 3 times, 3x, and railway capital expenditure has gone up 4 times, that is 4x. And that is what is making an important difference here. Now, there are some surprises. If you look at overall numbers, I told you Gujarat is about 3.66 or high threes. The states in the top 5, 7 are in the high threes. But Bihar, one of our largest states, 2.26, very poor. And for me, the big surprise is Assam, 2.15. Assam, for example, has fallen from 15 to 21. It's a fall of 6 slots. It's very disappointing given the fact that so much highway building and so much railway investment is going on in Assam and around Assam. But we are also given a reason in the survey. The survey tells us, and it's a BJP state now for many years, the survey tells us that Assam gets the lowest scores for reasonableness of its road freight rate. So it's too expensive to transport goods by road there, and the state government now probably needs to address this. Why has UP done better? UP has done better because, one, the objective assessment of logistics. These are not surveys. This is objective assessment based on data. Objective assessment of logistics tells you that safety and security at cargo terminals has improved a great deal. And also, the state government has given industry status to warehousing, which has helped. It's also giving 55% concession on change of land use if you are converting it to warehousing. So once again, you can see where changes are helping and where something is not working, and states which were actually doing quite well earlier are declining. And you can see who are the ones moving up, who are the ones moving down.